Hey everyone, my name is Steve. I'm going to be facilitating us through this webinar today. And my co-host Delane is also here. We're going to give folks a few minutes to log on before we get started. So sit tight and we'll be with you shortly. Okay, y'all, we're going to get started right at 6:05. I see some familiar faces of friends and some new folks that are here. Welcome, Elizabeth and Jennifer and Kelsey. I hope that I'm saying it right. And Martha, thanks for being here. Thanks for being on time. We're going to get into things in a few moments. Hey y'all, I'm seeing that a couple of people just joined us. Welcome. We're going to get started right at 6:05 p.m. So sit tight and I promise we're going to get into it. And once we get started, we will make great use of your time, I promise. Okay, here we are. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is a part of our webinar series to support folks the amazing people around the country that are hosting their own bailouts along with National Bailout, both folks that are a part of the formal National Bailout Network, as well as other people who have made the leap and decided that they want to help ensure that Black mamas are free and so that they could be with their families for Mother's Day. So thank you so much. We got a really solid crew here. And for people who end up watching this later through the recording, but I just want to formally welcome Angela and Chelsea and Elizabeth and Jennifer and Kelsey and Martha and Samantha and Tiara and Verinda. Welcome everybody. There's some familiar faces that I don't see right now, but I know that you can hear me and I feel the love and I appreciate it. And if we haven't met before, welcome. Really, really happy to have you. I know that there are some folks that are here that have participated and hosted bailouts before. For those of you, thanks for being here. Today may serve as mostly a refresher because you may have hosted a bailout last year or the year before. And for other folks, this might be the first bailout that you're doing. And what we're going to do today is really talk about to delve deeper into what a strong communication strategy looks like as you're preparing for your bailout that's happening locally. So I'll just go through the agenda real quick of what we're going to talk through today. Doing a welcome now. I'll pass to Delane, who will be grounding us a bit and talking about National Bailout and the story leading up to now about the Black Mamas bailouts. And then we'll get into some comms basics and talk about media and working with local press a bit. We'll talk about some do's and don'ts. We'll also talk about messaging that you can use locally for your campaigns. And we'll also be going through a style and messaging guide, which will be helpful for you all. That talks about messaging and the way to do your graphic design if you or someone on your team is going to be preparing content for the web. And then also we'll talk a little bit about the process that you can go through so that we can support you all via a design of certain resources, be it banners, flyers, and things like that to help you to promote your local bailout or raise funds locally, etc. And then we'll close with a little question and answer. I love webinars because they're really awkward and it mostly feels like you're talking to yourself, but I feel that you all are here with us and I'm really looking forward to the Q&A at the end so that we can really dive into the back and forth a bit. And if there are any points along the way that we feel like we might be able to open it up for a Q&A or a little bit of feedback, we'll be doing that as well. So I would, let me go ahead and pass it over to you, Delane.
Thanks so much. All right, y'all. Hey, so like Steve, I'm just going to be giving primary little background information on NBO as a collective and how we've come to this point. So National Bailout has currently 12 different organizations across the country, and it's a Black collective that came about in 2017. Folks were just sitting around strategizing around what can we be doing together that we can't necessarily do at a national front in a very comprehensive, holistic way on the individual level, with a particular focus on the bail system, the jail system, and how that affects our communities. And so from that conversation, two main things came out. One was that we want to educate our communities. And from there, we have the Until Freedom Comes. I'm sure some of you have seen. You can go to our website and download it. It's a toolkit that really outlines step-by-step just how to do a bailout and checklists and different things you should be aware of and thinking through in that process. And we also have the transformative bail curriculum that you can find on N4BL policies website. But we created those two things because recognizing the parts of educating and building and politicizing our folks. The second thing was doing bailouts. So Mary Hooks from Southerners on New Ground, a really dope Black woman, was like, share this vision at this meeting saying, we need to be bailing out Black moms and caretakers, understanding the roles that mamas and femmes and women and caretakers play in our communities. And folks were really excited and energized around that and moved with that. And it was really important also because we have never had never seen a bailout like this before in contemporary history. And so this really created the infrastructure for a national bailout. It became not only an organization, but a collective of, like I said, 12 different organizations currently across the country that were dedicated to doing these bailouts in various capacities. And so our first year in 2017 bailed out over 100 moms, mamas and caretakers. And moving into our third year, we bailed out over 300 Black folks from over 20 different jurisdictions across the country. And we've been supporting folks with different supportive services that we had a webinar on a few weeks ago, with things such like as housing and rehab and case management, and just have been really engaging our communities and folks that we bail out with our curriculum, our toolkit, and also fellowship opportunities that I'll talk about in a little bit. And so National Bailout has been using and understanding the importance of not only Black folks leading this work, but also how do we use these bailouts and bailing out our Black community members, our Black family, as a strategic tactic to really learn about bail in different contexts, to understand how it's showing up and how it shows up very differently depending on where you are. And from that came 3 basic strategic priorities. The first one being, again, National Bailout as an organization, as a collective, is going to be bailing out Black mamas and Black caregivers. Originally had started off as a big Black bail fund, realizing that there just was not enough capacity for that, and to be really strategic and think about our visions and our missions and our active acts of abolition. We want to scale back and center Black mamas and caregivers with our bailouts, and then doing another strategic bailout a year if it makes sense, such as closing a jail. Our second strategic priority is building a political community with the Black mamas and caregivers that we're bailing out. And this came from the vision of Janae Taylor from Gilda Papoose Collective in DC, creating a fellowship program for the Black mamas and caregivers that we built out, where they are meeting each other, where they're learning different organizing skills, where they're just moving through a leadership development process and really being in community with each other and being a part of being a part of a community together of folks who have also experienced similar things to them. And they get to realize that they are part of this larger community and have opportunity to be connected to different organizations across the country, and continue their work if they're interested. And it's also being a paid leadership development opportunity as well. And the third strategic priority would be our thought leadership, AKA love leadership, which is basically just that Black folks are the closest to the problems. The problems are directly and intensely impacting our folks. And so that means we are the ones that are closest to the solutions, and we need to be creating creative, transformative solutions, and that we are abolitionists and are always bringing forth that politic and that vision into the work that we're doing. And so with that, and thinking about our love leadership, our thought leadership, we've been working on a big Black Bear report that is going to be dropping in August, and we have some exciting stuff coming up. So tune in for that, which is going to be talking about what it's been like doing all these bailouts, what the lessons that we've learned, what are different organizing tactics, what are different policy recommendations, a supportive services assessment, and so much more. And the information that we're receiving and getting from other folks doing these bailouts, like some of you on this call, is going to be really pertinent for us to be able to create that bail report and to be writing it up. So yeah, that's a little bit about MBO and just how we have come to exist today and just different things that we are working on, and really appreciate for all the work that you all on this call have been doing, because it really shapes and outlines our work as well. I'm passing it back to Steve.
Thanks, Delane. Appreciate you. That was awesome. Thank you for reminding us where we came from, and giving us a bit more about where we're going and filling out the context of what we're doing. So let's get into it. If you're here, it's probably because you are hosting, co-hosting, or participating in a bailout. You might be the main organizer for that bailout, or you might be a person that's working in communications capacity for the bailout. So let's start by going through the basics. The first thing that I want to direct your attention to is that sometime in the past 2 hours, if you are here, that means that you're on a mailing list that we have that includes all of the people that signed up for webinars. And you should have been sent an email that has a couple of different resources that will be helpful and that I'll be going over in this webinar today. So if you just want to take like 2 minutes, check your email. If you are a Gmail person, it came from MailChimp, so it might be in your promotions folder. look out for it. It says something about comms webinar in the subject line. Should be pretty easy to find. But I'll just go ahead and get into it. And the first thing that we're going to do is just talk through some of the basics of the communication stuff. So as you're developing your bailout plan, you want to make sure that you have a communications plan that elevates the actions and the experiences of the folks that are on your team that are organizing, and also the mamas that are inside and soon to be outside with your help. A huge piece of a successful bailout is spreading the word about what you're doing and why. The bailouts are an opportunity for you to educate your community about the cruelty of money bail, to ask folks to give their money. And when we're asking folks to give their money, we like to think about this, that we are providing folks an opportunity to contribute to their own liberation and the liberation of their community. So, we shouldn't be afraid to ask for money, and that's a part of our work, is giving people an opportunity to be a part of this movement, and it can be liberating to give towards something like that. But an important part of doing all of this is getting the word out and making sure that it's part of a larger moment of public education. So my name is Steve, and I am for the national collective. I'm leading on communications. So we're basically working every day to provide resources for you all who are doing those bailouts locally, as well as coordinating the communication strategy centrally, so that it can be something that's happening in tandem, and it can be connected. And really our goal is to be able to thread and loop the narrative of what you all are doing locally with what's happening nationally, so that we can magnify and amplify and be able to show that this is actually a national movement that's happening to free Black mamas. And this is a national movement around ending money bail and pretrial detention. And many of the people that are doing this work are abolitionists, and this is like a very fiery and powerful step into that world with the practice of freeing our people. So what we find when we're talking about communications is that sometimes folks are a little bit intimidated by the process. So just going to go through a couple of things right now to try to ease some of that anxiety when it comes to developing that communication strategy. The first thing that I want to focus on here is talking a little bit about coordinating with media. So when you're talking about your local bailout, you may have an email list for your organization, you may have a social media following, but particularly as you're doing like a powerful action like this, interacting with the local media is definitely something that we want to encourage doing. This is really a great story to tell. So again, like this is like an opportunity that you're providing to the local press to tell a story that they should be telling. So that first step is going to be around pulling together a media list. The way that we would recommend pulling together that media list, if you've never done so before, is by picking up a newspaper or looking at the local press, media, blogs that cover issues in your community, and looking for people that are telling similar stories. Whether it is somebody that talks about criminal justice, bail or jail related things locally, looking for those bylines to see who's telling those stories. There might have been stories that you've seen or shared over the past couple of weeks or past couple of months that you might want to just go back to that and find the byline and find who wrote that article, and pull together a list of people that you think would be likely to tell this story. So, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's just a Google Doc or a note that you have, or building a spreadsheet where you have the name and you're able to get the email and the phone number, but pulling together a central place where you have all the people that you're going to reach out to about your bailout. Another thing is developing your talking points. So when you're developing your talking points, you want to think about who is your target audience. What are your demands? What are the key takeaways? So if you don't know where to start with the talking points, don't worry, we got you. In a few minutes, we're going to go through the style and messaging guide, which is designed to help you to develop this stuff. As you're thinking through your media plan and media strategy, you may want to identify in advance, the spokespeople who are going to be doing those interviews with you. Most importantly, you're going to make sure that these spokespeople are actually going to be available to do the interviews on the days that you're doing your bailouts, and that they're physically available in case someone wants to come with cameras and talk to you all. They could be from your team, and they could be someone that you're in relationship in your community that relates to the issue that's going on. But while we're talking about the spokespeople to do interviews, one point that I want to make here is that it may seem intuitive that the spokespeople for your campaign would be the mamas that are being bailed out. But I just want to kind of stop us there with that frame of thinking. This is our third year that we're doing these bailouts. And one thing that we have been increasingly thoughtful about is for the mamas, for the caregivers, for the folks that we're bailing out of jail, they're coming from a traumatic place. These jails are not fun places to be. And this whole scenario of a group of people coming and freeing you from jail may be extremely emotional. You may be relieved. You may just want to get home to your family. I would want to just get home to my family. So we want to make sure that when we're planning, when we're making our media plan, we're making our strategy, and when it gets to the point that we are doing the bailout and you're dealing with very eager press who thinks that who they should be talking to is the mamas that are being bailed out, we want to be a line of defense for these folks that we're bailing out. It's not the best case scenario to get bailed out of jail and there's a camera in your face right away asking you questions. One, that we've got to respect and understand where these people are coming from, which is not a fun place. Another thing, we should acknowledge that they may be in an emotional place. Hell, I would be, you probably would be too. And another thing is, even from a strategic standpoint, the folks that we're bailing out of jail are maybe the best people to talk about the experience of being within the jails. But if our strategy is about increasing a narrative that's around ending money bail and pretrial detention, then it's really the folks that are participating and the organizers of that bailout that are the best spokespeople, because you've had time with the messaging points. You've attended this webinar. You spent time thinking about this. You might have been on other webinars for weeks where we're talking about these different bailouts. So you all are the right spokespeople to talk about the work that we're doing together. And in some of the places where there have been bailouts in the past, a thing that we're moving towards this year is coordinating with mamas that we've bailed out in previous years. And for those folks that we're still in relationship with, for those folks that are now organizing and participating in the bailouts that are happening locally, empowering them, those mamas that have been bailed out before by the program, to be potential spokespeople for the bailouts that are happening this year. If you and your folks are in a position to be able to empower a mama to be one of your spokespeople this year, we think that that's awesome. And just want to mark that even with that there should be some sort of a process around bringing them in around that. What we've been encouraging folks to do is to pair one of your organizers with one of the bailed out mamas so that you can spend time with them. You can spend time talking about the different talking points. And so also you could be right next to them or on the phone with them when they're taking those questions, just to make sure that they continue to feel safe. For many folks, ourselves included, it's their first time. When it's your first time speaking to media, it can be scary. But just knowing that you have somebody there with you can be really helpful. So all of that to say, there are many different ways that you can think about spokespeople. Our biggest recommendation is to not think about the folks that you're bailing out this in the coming weeks as your spokespeople, and that way you're going to be in a position that you'll be able to be more prepared. You've got your media list. You have your spokespeople. Now, who is your press team? Who is going to be the main coordinator that is going to make sure that you're able to receive those press and get them speaking to the right people? Your press team is going to be who coordinates and puts together a press release that basically has the main information about your bailout, the time, the place. Often what these bailouts look like is something that's happening on the inside where there's a process to sign and put money down for our folks, et cetera. And folks are hanging out outside waiting for folks to get out. So, making sure that you have one core point person who is sending out the press release to the media and is the person that can be called on to make sure that they can coordinate, tell the story once that person gets there on the ground, and be able to give any details or make any connections necessary. After you send out your press release, it's super important that you follow up. You send an email. A lot of these folks that we're reaching out to get a lot of emails. They might get dozens of emails. They might get 100 of emails a day of people that are pitching them stories. But you should remember that what we're doing is extremely powerful. And a person might miss an email, but if you send an email and you call them right afterwards and you say, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you saw this and understood what was going on, that can certainly move the needle and prioritize in a person's agenda for that day or for that week, telling the story. So that's how, we have limited time here, so we're just going a little bit quickly through some of the do's and don'ts and things to think about. You'll have to just bear with me through that. That's kind of the section that we're talking about, like coordinating with the press and the media. At the end of this, will put my email address so that if you all have any direct questions or places that you want to go deeper or things that you'd like to see, so that we can continue talking, I can continue to support you all or connect you to the support that you need. Outside of your press and your media plan, you want to develop a social media plan. How are you telling the story to your folks locally about the bailout? Are you developing graphics that go along with that? What days are you planning on doing your bailout, and how are you leading up to those days and educating your community about the problem? How are you also using your social media or your email list as a way to fundraise so that you can raise more money so that you can support these people? Both to get them bailed out as well as to support them after they get bailed out. And we've got some hashtag suggestions. So we have been shifting over the last couple of years to really find the right language, the right hashtags to use so that everybody can be all aligned. So this year, we are doing the Black Mamas bailout, but our main hashtag is Free Black Mamas. So this campaign is called Free Black Mamas. When we see you all social media stuff, we want to see hashtag Free Black Mamas. What that's going to do is there's been times where when it was a little bit confusing where some people were putting Black Mamas bailout, some people were putting Mamas bailout day, some people were putting, there was 15 different variations of the hashtags that folks were using. So it's very difficult to track the national story. This year, I really want to impress upon you all that our hashtag, our main hashtag is Free Black Mamas. In the past, we've also used in money bail. You can also use in pretrial detention, but if you gotta choose one hashtag, please use Free Black Mamas. We wanna make sure that everything is coordinated and smooth. Yeah. Okay, so cool, y'all. I wanna move into a document that, I know, I'm sure that this is all really riveting listening to me talk for so long. I'm gonna break it up and give you all something else to look at. Like I said a few minutes ago, there's an email that was sent out to everyone. You should have received it. It may be in your promotions folder. I hope it's not in your spam, but it might be there too. And it talks about resources for the communications webinar. If you can open that up, so that you have it, cool. If you just want to hang out here and look for that stuff after the call, that'll totally be fine too, because I'm about to share my screen with you all so that you can see this stuff. So let me do that. Okay. When you get to the email, it's going to have a link that is going to share you with this folder. This folder is full of different resources that you can use to help you in developing your communications plan, and also help to get you on board and engaged with starting to get active on social media and telling the story right away. So what you'll find here is that there are a couple of graphics that you may have seen already that are here and easy to use. There's also this Google Doc that has a messaging guide that is very easy to copy and paste. But actually where I want to start here is this document right here, which is the Free Black Mama Style and Messaging Guide. So we've got a lot, we have like a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful challenge that we deal with here, which is that this is just happening in so many different places. And the biggest challenge that we have communications-wise is just getting everybody on the same page about the way that we talk about this, about the way that the things look online, and keeping everything cohesive. And another thing that's really important for all of us at National Bailout is that making sure that folks know that when you participate in Free Black Mamas, that this is a campaign that's led by National Bailout. In the past, there are groups and organizations that present it in a way like it's something completely new. And we are of the firm belief around like respecting the innovation and creativity of the majority Black women and Black femmes and Black leaders that have come up with this idea and put it together and lead many of the organizations of National Bailout. And also your local campaign and the national campaign is amplified and strengthened by all of us being on the same page. So I'm gonna quickly go through this, but this is definitely something that you could spend some more time and should spend some more time with later. This is supposed to be a way to make it really easy for you to follow along, to get engaged, and for everything to be smooth and cohesive. So I'll just move through this. All right. So here's our introduction. What is Free Black Mamas? Free Black Mamas is an annual campaign by the National Bailout Collective, seeks to raise awareness around the human and financial cost of money bail and emphasize its impact on Black mothers and caregivers. Each year since 2017, we've coordinated tactical bailouts nationwide to free as many mamas, caregivers as possible so they may spend Mother's Day with their families where they belong. There's a lot of time that's been spent on the messaging all throughout this. So hint, hint, you can copy and paste stuff all throughout this and you're like saving yourself tons of time. What is a Black Mama's Bailout? Y'all know what this is. What's National Bailout? This is just a little bit of information around the organization, National Bailout. Delane talked about this stuff earlier. I won't reiterate that. There's a little bit of information around what we've been able to accomplish so far. We are in our third year, so we're really excited and looking forward to these numbers skyrocketing and continuing to increase. But based on the first 2 years, it's 308 people that we've bailed out, close to $2 million that we've raised to fund our work from over 22,000 individual donors. This is awesome, y'all. This is like what a collective working together looks like and can accomplish. And it's just really, I mean, it's just really exciting to be a part of this stuff. We've paid close to $1 million in bail, which is a damn shame that we have to spend this much money to get people free. But more so than just paying bail, we spent $250,000 to help meet the needs of those people that we've bailed out. So this is a testament to the fact that we're not just bailing people out, but we're providing services to people on the tail end. And we've also spent around $225,000 to power local organizing efforts. As many of you all know on this call, folks that are hosting bailouts have been able to apply for funding to support your local organizing work. And we appreciate y'all and hope that y'all appreciate us. And this is how we keep it going. Many partner organizations that are part of the National Bailout Collective and others. And so far we've had 19 mamas that have participated in our fellowship program, and we got another fellowship program on the way. So I pointed this out and talked about this a little bit earlier. Talking points. So we've got some like main talking points here. This is just a good couple of pages to spend time with. Like I said, these talking points are also accessible in the Google document, which is in the same folder. It'll make it easy to copy and paste this stuff. I don't think that I'm going to spend time reading through all of these talking points. You all have access to these. These are really great. This can be you know, direct quotes that you want to use for your social media, or you might want to reiterate, revise these and use them in your press release. You might want to use them in any of your materials, or this might just be a really good document to share with all of the members of your organization so that you all can get on the same page about what it is that you're participating in. For those of you that have participated in the bailouts in previous years, this stuff has just been refined even more. It's been refined even more by folks that are a part of the core of the collective that have taken time to work on this messaging based on what we've been doing so far and some of the lessons that we've learned. And I hope this stuff can be really helpful for you. So dignity, power, respect. I mean, this is really just about properly attributing national bailout. This is really important to us, y'all, that folks know that you are a part of a collective and folks know that you're supporting the work of a collective as you participate in the Free Black Mamas campaign. So it's national, we prefer that you write out national bailout. The only shorthand that we'd like to be used other than spelling out national bailout would be MBO. Free Black Mamas is the hashtag. Please use that everywhere and anywhere to help people get back to everything that we're doing and things that people are doing all over the country. Again, this is just an explanation of what a Black Mamas bailout is. And just some like really, really specific grammar stickler nerd stuff here about the correct way to write out Black Mamas bailout. Making sure that you have your apostrophe there and that it's in the right place. This is really important for some folks. Maybe it's really important for you all there listening as well. This is really important. A mama is a term that encompasses Black, cis, and trans women, femmes, and gender nonconforming people who mother and care for families and communities in various ways. This term is not limited to birth mothers and those who portray motherhood through cisgender or straight lens. This is really important to our collective. We know from our experiences and the experiences of those in our communities that a mama, a mother, a caregiver looks a lot of different ways. And that's who we're supporting. The people that do that, who hold those roles in our communities. And it's not limited. It's really an expanded view of how we think about that. And that should be in our messaging as well. And the word Black should always be capitalized. So, very important, Black should be capitalized. I've been gotten at a couple of times with this one, like, yo, hey, you didn't capitalize Black in that last email, okay? So this is very serious. Okay, so there are a couple of things around design and type. There has been a refreshed, rebranded national bailout, as well as like the Free Black Mamas campaign. It's not important how much time went into it, but a bit. And what I would appreciate and what we would appreciate is for y'all to get down with where we're coming from here. When you're doing your designs, et cetera, so that we can, this is really a grand experiment in doing like a coordinated campaign all across the country and inviting anybody to participate in it and streamlining those things. I know that I keep talking about it, but it's just because it's become so important for us as we continue to do this work. So this section is just going through the design and type. Here's the new national bailout logo. This heart has become really important in our branding. The heart represents the love of our people as they collect resources and use them to bail our people out of jail, and it reinforces the act of bailing out our folks as an act of radical love. We are literally showing our love through our service, through the use of our dollars to free our people. And that's what that heart means to us. The heart is, the B is replaced by a heart in our logo. And as you'll continue to see throughout this document and the things we're pushing out online, that we are continuing to use that heart. We want y'all to use this heart. We want this symbol, this heart that's laying on its side in this exact color to be something that's really recognizable across all of our different work. And the heart should always be in Mama's Rose Red. This is this code may or may not make sense to folks, but for any designers that are on your team, or when you open up Photoshop or Illustrator or PowerPoint or any place where it asks you to choose a color, it allows you to put in a 6-digit hex code. This is the hex code to make sure that you always get the perfect color. There are these tags that we are requesting of you all to put on your graphics as you are designing the things that you're pushing out on social media or things that you're doing in print design. This is basically like a badge to show that you're a part of the broader network. So it's showing the Black Mamas bailout, and then it has the hashtag down at the bottom so that people are always able to connect back to the larger movement. Don't worry, this tag design is already put together and it's in a folder so that you can just download this and use this. Here's a color palette. This is the color palette that we're working with. And so you'll see these across all of the different designs that we're pushing out. And for each of these different colors, again, there's the hex code so that you can just line up with this stuff really easily. And then there's some specific fonts that we're using as well. So really this is like fairly technical, but also trying to just lay this out in like a really, really smooth way. If there are designers that you work with or a communications person that you work with, or you are a comms person, you know, we're just trying to make it all really easy. All of these things are in a specific folder so that you can download these fonts. I will show you all that in 1 second. And then we've got some sample social media posts here too. So here's like some like sample content that's right here. There's graphics. This is our main graphic that we've been going with. This is also available in that folder. So yeah, y'all. Okay. So when you get to, so this is important because I've gone through a couple of different resources and materials and things that you could use. So there are 2 links that are at the end of this presentation. First is a link to the Google Doc version of the messaging guide. I'm just going to do this live with y'all. So you can click on this and it's going to take you to this page. And this is just a plain text version of all of the writing that is in that document. Okay? So you can have access to that there. And then the second link is a link to the folder that has all of these different resources. All right, so cool, you've made it here. Let me reduce the size of my screen a little bit. Boom, so you make it to this folder. Here are downloads of all the fonts that we've suggested that you use. Here is different design resources that you can just design and throw right onto your graphics. So this is the bailout tag that I talked about. They're here. Here is the Black Mamas Bailout logo. It's right here. Here's the heart, the National Bailout logo. So all this stuff is here. And we've also got like a couple of patterns that we've been rocking with that you can use as well if you want to across your posts as well. Okay, so we're trying to make this easy. Hope that it helps. Looking forward to you all's feedback on these different things. And then you have your graphics that are here. And also we have the launch video right here in the folder for you to be able to.
Each year for Mother's Day.
For you to be able to just download really easily. And then you can take that right to your social media. All right, cool. Let's see. So there's a couple more things that I want to show you. And I have them open here. We are sending out, on top of what we have in this presentation that I just went through, which goes through some sample social media language that you can use, we're also sharing weekly toolkits with everybody. And this is basically at the top of every week, we're sending out these toolkits to folks. So you can basically line up with what we have, what we're pushing out during the week. It has links here for specific posts that you can retweet or reshare, or things that you could like on Instagram that'll just help us with those algorithms that don't want us to be lit, and don't want us to be great. Some sample posts that you can place. And then it also has links to the different places where you can find all of those different resources. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for 1 moment just to get to this next part of the agenda. So I'm really looking forward to the question and answers because I'm in a position where I just need to keep talking for a little bit longer. So one more thing. We know that everybody doesn't have a communications team. We know that everybody doesn't have a designer on their team that they can call on. But our goal is to help as much as possible every step of the way. So one more step that we're taking to be able to help folks out is that we have a process so that we can get our design team to help you all out with designing some core things that you might need. So the things that we're offering is to create a main graphic that's promoting your bailout for you, to create a banner that you can print out and have with you while you're doing your bailout for photo purposes or just to build the vibe of what you have going on locally. So we have some design work that we're willing to do for you all. And another thing is that we really want to tell the story of what's going on nationally, which relies on us getting a bit more information from you all. So this is another thing that is linked in the email that was sent out to you all today. But I'm going to show you one more thing, which is this form right here. Are you all seeing this form with the purple background? All right, thanks, Selena. I appreciate your head nod. So this form, this is a like 5-minute form for you to fill out. This will do two things. One, this is going to help us to understand what's going on with y'all locally. That's huge. It's a huge deal. So that we can go from, in a vague way, talking about your bailout, like, hey, there's a bailout in Detroit, to being able to say with clarity and confidence, like, there's a bailout in Detroit that's happening on May 7th. It's going to be right here. And this relates, and what's going on in Detroit is X, Y, and Z. It allows us to be able to talk about it from a place of confidence, to understand the context that you all are dealing with locally that has inspired or is directly related to you all doing a bailout in general. The other thing that this allows us to do is just get all of your information, and if you want to request that we design some materials for you, you can click yes here and we'll use that. So this is a quick form. It asks you your organization, the location, if there's an official name for your bailout, like the Chattahoochee Free Black Mamas bailout. I don't know if we actually have a bailout there. Is that crazy that that's the first city that came to my name? Is that wild? Yeah, all right. Your point person's email, preferably a person who's directly dealing with your communications, and the phone number as well. Who is the main spokesperson, so that we know that information as well, and then their contact information. We are also working with a PR company who's helping us to coordinate the press nationally. And the more that we know locally, we could actually feed you all stories. If The Root or Blavity is interested in telling the story about what's going on in Chattahoochee, we'll be able to more directly make that connection based on knowing what's going on and based on knowing who we can reach out to, based on having the contact information of the spokespeople themselves. As a point of process, we're always going to reach out to the point person as well as the spokesperson, because we know that sometimes those spokespeople are not a part of the organization and should be coordinated and filtered through the point person. It's going to ask some little quick information, your Twitter handle, your Facebook page URL, your Instagram. As we find stories, as we're seeing, we want to be able to give you all shout outs. We want to be able to tell the story. We want to be able to tag you all so that folks can find your organizations to support y'all, to uplift y'all, to donate to y'all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's also a place here to talk about, like, what is the local story? We know what the national story is. We know what the reason that we're doing all of this is, but are there specific talking points that relate to your city? It might be tied to a campaign that you all have been working on or will be working on sometime in the future. The more context that we have, the better. If there's any links that are related to that, this could be a report. This could be like some crazy story that happened a couple of weeks ago. All that stuff is good to know. And then the dates. What are the dates of your bailout? Are there any fundraising events or drives that you're doing? Are there homecoming celebrations that you have planned? And then again, do you want a custom banner, custom flyer and poster, custom business cards, what that stuff is used for? So I am really looking forward to supporting you in this way. For all of the folks that are here, I know that you all love filling out forms. And I know that you're always punctual filling out the forms, so I just rejoice and I'm grateful for that. What would be really helpful is if you all could fill out this form by the end of the day on the 29th. I can go ahead and send a follow-up email, but the goal is that, particularly if you're going to want some support with design, we need some time so that we can get that stuff for you all. There is a designer that we have that actually needs to spend time and make sure that they can get that stuff together so that we can get it to you all, so that by the week of the 6th that you have those things. And particularly if you want something like a banner printed, we need to have it for you in advance so that you can get with your local Kinko's or FedEx or Black-owned printing shop that can make that stuff happen for you all. You know, we need a little bit of time. So check your email. Please get to this form so that you can fill it out and so that we can help you all out. We have almost made it through, y'all. Let me look at my agenda real quick and see if there's anything that I'm missing. Great. So yes, I actually want to open it up for question and answer. Oh, there's 17 people here now. This is awesome. Hey, y'all. Thanks for being here. I hope that this has been helpful so far. We're going to actually open it up for a question and answer. Delane, do you know how to do this? I clicked on Q&A.
Yeah, so folks can go ahead and just drop your questions in the chat box. If it's easier for you to talk, then you can just send a message that you want to talk, and I'll click allow to talk as well. You can also raise your hand, and then I can allow you to talk too.
And in the meantime, in between time, I'm actually just going to drop the links for those different places for the feedback form directly into this chat box as well. And also for the folder that is full of the resources, I'm just going to drop that link as well so that everybody has it. Thanks, Chelsea. So Chelsea asked, oh, I'm sorry, let me start with Kelsey. I hope that I'm saying it right. I'm not affiliated with an organization. I learned about this webinar on Instagram, hoping to get connected with an org in Portland, Oregon to help support. Delane, I'm actually gonna float this question to you. Yeah.
Okay. Kelsey, if you can send your email to just panelists, I'll go ahead and follow up with you today or tomorrow to be able to talk more around folks doing bailouts in Portland. Yep.
I'm on mute. Okay, Chelsea said, does MBO plan to post a list of local bailout campaigns? I work for the New York State NYS Coalition Against Sexual Assault. We can't organize a bailout ourselves, but we'd love to get in touch with local campaigns and amplify their efforts. Yes, Chelsea, absolutely. We have a participation form that hopefully everybody that's here, either on the Zoom live or on the phone call, that participation form that has gone out in various places is really important so that we actually know about all of the different bailouts that are happening. And we are really excited about all of the different bailouts that we've heard about and the folks that we've been talking to. And by next week, we're gonna be in a position to actually communicate like, hey, here are all of the different places that bailouts that are happening, and here are the organizations that are leading those bailouts. So for someone like you, Chelsea, or others that are looking to support local bailouts that are going on, by the middle of next week via our social media, we should be able to start amplifying and talking about those bailouts so that you can get connected with them. So thank you for asking that question. And I think that it's awesome that despite whatever reason, the legal reasons that you're not able to fundraise, that you're still down to help out with another crew that's torn down. Really appreciate that. So Candace asked, any advice for how to balance local fundraising with supporting national? I think that that's a really great question. I think that that is a tension that many organizations have felt, whereas you're understandably trying to fundraise for your own local bailout to make sure that you're able to bail folks out. And at the same time, you want to participate and you want to support the National Bailout Collective as well. So I think that there's a couple of ways to answer that. Just a couple of days ago, we had a call for everyone to participate on Easter around like Sunday service or Day of Giving for National Bailout. And this is really in recognition of the fact that there is a tension there and that it's hard to hold both the local and the national campaign. So one thing is that we are coordinating like national days where we're asking folks to all support and all go in on the national. And we just had one of those. And another way is that, we just went through the style and messaging guide, and aligning what you're doing locally with what's going on nationally is a huge way that you can support the national campaign. If you're not, the more that you align with the brand, the more that you're using the right hashtags, just by the nature of you talking about your own local bailout, it is going to funnel that traffic, the people locally, to see that it's a part of a broader campaign as well. We understand that y'all need to raise money locally so that you can get Black mamas out. We want that to happen. We want that to happen. We are not asking for you to each day prioritize sending out a fundraising link or a link to the National Bailout website when you know that you got to make stuff happen locally. And oftentimes with the folks that are in your community, they're going to be more engaged and more excited about an opportunity to help people in their own community. So my answer to that would be that it is completely okay to be realistic around your own goals, your own strategy locally, and your own needs around fundraising. And that just show us some love too. Line up with the way that we're framing everything. Use the same color scheme and pattern so that folks are able to see the texture of a national movement even when they're looking at your stuff locally. Delane, how was that answer? I wonder if you have any other thoughts on that.
That was perfect. I have nothing to add.
Okay, cool. Let's see, are there more questions? Okay, I wonder if there's any more questions. We got a few more minutes up until 7 o'clock.
So I see from Chelsea, we love to get support. I'd love to support. I love support, sorry. Getting connected to bailouts happening in New York. Okay, I'm gonna drop my email address. Chelsea, you can go ahead and email me and I can connect you, have a conversation with you and connect you to folks who are throwing down in New York City. And also in Syracuse as well, depending on where you're located.
And then also in the chat thread, just a reminder, I've posted the links for you to go straight to the Google Drive with the resources. Just open up the tab right now. I know you already got 15 tabs open. What's one more? Just open it up right now. And then also I've put a link for you to fill out this form with more information around your bailouts. Y'all, can you please do this week? Can you please by Friday fill out this form? I know I was kind of like saying, like I know I was kind of saying it jokingly that everybody loves forms and everybody does this on time. It's, I know that it's not fun to fill out forms. It's also not fun to ask folks to fill out forms, but this whole process goes smoother if you spend 5 minutes giving us a little bit more details about your bailouts. It really helps us to support y'all. It really helps to tell the national story, and being able to support y'all and tell the national story helps us to like move on this issue. So 5 minutes of your time helps us get closer to abolition. Is that a good pitch or what? Come on.
Brilliant.
Did we get another?
Yeah.
Were the stats on the handout all national or some of the local efforts as well? I think that you're talking about, so that was from Martha Hoff. What we've done so far that is in the I think that those are the stats that you're talking about, Martha. And if so, that is a culmination of all of the efforts that have happened nationally, including local bailout efforts. Depending on your perspective, 308 people either sounds like a lot of people or a little people, but sometimes the bail costs 25,000, 50,000, 65,000, 75,000. It's a big deal. It's a big deal how many folks that we've bailed out. But yeah, those statistics do reflect the national. But appreciate y'all being so close to the fold so that we can also reflect the most accurate numbers for what we're doing each year.
And that comp survey will help with that for next year. Getting those numbers, yes.
Yes. All right, cool. So I'll just give it like 30 more seconds for any more questions before we wrap this up, y'all. All right, great. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you, Alicia and Angela and Candace and Chelsea and Elizabeth and Jennifer and Kelsey and Logan and Martha and Sam and Tierra and Verinda. And thanks, Martha, for saying a nice thing about the design team. I'm on that team. Validation feels great. Thank you, Delane, for hanging out with me. So I'm not just looking at myself and providing such great context and background in the beginning. Yeah, I also dropped an email address that you can reach me if you have any follow-up questions about any things that we talked about today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for committing to being a part of this movement with us. Thanks for being so intentional with your time. Thank you for the love and the sacrifice and participating in this struggle. It's because of you all and all of us working together that we've already changed the conversation around bail in this country, and that we're going to continue to free more people until we can free them all.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
All right, y'all, I'm closing this thing. Goodbye.
Bye.